Episode 10, 10 out of 10. Episode 11, 9.5. Episode 12, another 10 out of 10. I just finished watching the final ANDOR arc, and it was outstanding. ANDOR Season 2 is going to go down as one of the best seasons in television history. Redditor Carson Wentz Goat 1 made a post about how ANDOR has 5 episodes in a row at 9.5 or higher on IMDb, while commenters were quick to point out that Attack on Titan has 6 episodes in a row at 9.5 or higher. Others noted that some of the best seasons of TV, like Breaking Bad Season 5 and Game of Thrones Season 4, never achieved this feat. So ANDOR is currently in an elite group. The ratings will probably come down over time, but I still stand by my statement that ANDOR Seasons 1 and 2 are some of the best TV seasons I've ever seen. This week's arc was definitely the most contained, as only a couple days at most pass between the opening scene in Luthen and Clea's shop to the end of the finale. The arc starts off with all the characters in crisis, and the 3 episodes move at an unrelenting pace. After an urgent alert is triggered, Luthen meets with Lonnie, who warns that the Imperial Energy Project has been a front for a weapon designed by Galen Erso, and that the resources secured after the Gorman massacre are being used to power this weapon. In typical Luthen fashion, he ties up every loose end, which includes killing Lonnie. I understand his reasoning, but goddamn, he's a bastard. He leaves Lonnie's wife without her husband and his daughter without a father. I was really hoping Lonnie would make it, so his death at the hands of Luthen was painful. The only slight comfort is that a Lothcat discovers Lonnie's body, which is a super cute Easter egg for Rebels fans. Luthen tells Clea the crucial information that he got from Lonnie before returning to the antique shop to destroy evidence. There he encounters Deidre, who has him surrounded by Imperials. Luthen turns a knife on himself to tie up one final loose end, but he is saved by medics. Realizing what has happened, Clea heads to the hospital where Luthen is being kept in order to finish what he started. Throughout the episode, we get flashbacks that reveal how Luthen and Clea met. Luthen used to be known as Sergeant Lear. Rael is just Lear backwards. While I've watched all the canon, live action, and animated Star Wars projects, I'm not a lore expert by any means, so I needed some help interpreting how what we were shown fits into the series canon. Luckily, Redditor Hookswift made an excellent post compiling information fans have been able to glean about Luthen's past. The gist is that Luthen was a sergeant in the Imperial Army, and he had a mental breakdown during a mass killing. It is during this massacre that he discovers Clea stowed away on his ship. Hookswift's post goes into a lot more detail, so I'll link it in the description of this video because it's definitely worth a read. Luthen deserts his post and runs off with Clea. After Clea witnesses the Imperials publicly execute a group of people, it ignites a fire within her to fight the Empire. Luthen tells her to mask her feelings until she knows what to do with them, but to hold on to that hatred.
When do we start fighting back?
We have.
By walking away.
We fight to win. That means we lose. And lose and lose and lose. Until we're ready. All you know now is how much you hate. You bank that, you hide that. You keep it alive until you know what to do with it. And when I tell you to move, you move.
I also have to shout out the awesome elderly alien lady that everyone has fallen in love with, and the Giga Chad who wrote the subtitles for this episode. In another flashback, we see Luthen give Clea a detonator. However, he changes his mind and uses it himself to blow up an Imperial convoy on Naboo, so Clea doesn't have the blood on her young hands. Even though Luthen said she would only be his daughter when it was convenient, we see that he ended up caring for her like a daughter. All this makes the events in the present that much more heartbreaking. Clea infiltrates the hospital, causes an explosion to distract the Imperials, and sneaks into Luthen's room. She unplugs his life support, tying up the final loose end. Luthen never sees the sunrise or the light of gratitude, but without him, the Battle of Yavin would have never happened and the rebels would have been crushed. It's a tragic end for such an important character. Picking up soon after the events of Episode 10, Episode 11 shows us the hospital is in lockdown and Deidre is being held in an Imperial cell. We get this awesome scene where the camera focuses on Deidre, but Krennic moves around in the background, looming over her with barely controlled rage. He knows Deidre was accidentally sent information about Galen Erso and the Death Star, yet she didn't tell anyone. As many have pointed out, the Death Star leak unintentionally ended up paralleling the signal leak in our world, which I want to say is funny, but really it's just sad. Deidre kept the information she was sent and didn't report it in the hope that she could make use of it in her pursuit of Axis, ultimately to impress her superiors. Deidre's ambition is her ultimate downfall, as Krennic blames her for screwing up the arrest of Axis, aka Luthen, and for the leaked Death Star information that Lonnie was able to access from her files. Clea transmits a distress call to Woolman on Yavin. Cassian, Melshi, and K2 take a rebel rebel ship without permission and head for Coruscant. However, the Imperials have triangulated Clea's distress call, so it's a race to see who gets there first. Cassian and Melshi make it to the safe house, and Clea tells them the information about the Death Star. Unfortunately, the Imperials scramble comms for this sector, so K2 isn't able to warn them about the approaching soldiers. K2 takes matters into his own hands and heads for the safe house. I love the shot where he knocks the Imperial officer off the bridge.
Are you with us? No.
Episode 11 leaves us on a cliffhanger, wondering how the rebels will escape with the Imperials having locked down their floor. After getting pinned down in the safe house, the rebels are rescued by K2, who bludgeons his way through the Imperials in an epic hallway sequence. They escape, but Clea has been injured in the standoff. Mon and Bail meet with Saw over a holo projection, and they accuse him of getting too reckless with attacking Imperial transports. But Saw pays no mind to their concerns, even with a Star Destroyer looming above him. Since Luthen always worked in isolation and trusted no one, the rebels question the validity of the information Cassian brings. They worry that Luthen could have been played by the Empire, but Cassian insists that the intel must be true because Luthen gave his life to share it. Major Partagaz listens to a recording of Nemik's manifesto, which is an awesome callback, noting that it has spread everywhere. Realizing that Deidre's failure is going to reflect back on him, Partagaz shoots himself to avoid facing the consequences. Cassian has a dream of his sister one last time before waking up and having Bail ask him to pursue Luthen's intel. Cassian heads off to meet with the contact from Rogue One, and during this emotional sequence we find out the fates of other characters. Woolman and Drina are safe with the rebels on Yavin. Perrin has moved on from Mon. We see that he is sleeping with the crime boss's wife and drinking himself to death back on Coruscant. We are shown Deidre wearing one of the prison jumpsuits that Cassian and Kino were forced to wear in Season 1. She's in an identical facility, and we know Deidre will rot in the hellish labor prison for the rest of her miserable life. The Empire has a way of eating its own, especially its most loyal, like Cyril and Deidre. This is an ending worse than death for Deidre, and I love it. Clea recovers on Yavin, surrounded by friends, as Val notes. I'm so glad that Clea got a happy ending. The Force-sensitive woman locks eyes with Cassian as he leaves, and it seems like she knows he isn't coming back from this final mission. Saw looks out at the Star Destroyer that looms over Jeddah, Krennic watches as the Death Star is prepared for operation, and we finally find out where B has been, as he's shown to still be on the farm planet. He plays with one of his droid friends, and I can't overstate how grateful I am that he got a happy ending. However, in one final reveal, we learn that Bix had Cassian's child. This adds another layer of tragedy to Cassian's ultimate fate. He never meets his child, and he never gets the happy life with Bix that he more than earned. But Bix is safe, his kid is safe, and his sacrifice ensures the success of the rebellion. Fucking heart-wrenching. Despite being only 2 seasons, I have a feeling that Andor has a shot at cracking my top 10 favorite TV series. It'll take some time for me to figure out how I rank the episodes because there are so many amazing ones to choose from. After watching the entire series, I still feel that the episode One Way Out from the first season is still my favorite, but Harvest, Who Are You, Welcome to the Rebellion, Make It Stop, and Jeddah Kyber Urso are all contenders from season 2. Andor was Star Wars like we've never seen it before, and it is easily my favorite Star Wars project in the series canon. Here's to hoping that there's more amazing Star Wars content headed our way. But Andor leaves some titanic shoes to fill. Here's my final selection of Andor memes. Doomgrips out.